Welcome everyone to com26v.com, Conference of the Movements. Our goal today is to create a global collective consciousness. How can we create a blueprint for creating this global consciousness? So this is day 4 of the Conference of Movements, and we're really excited here to have Charaya Dharma. Sorry if I pronounce your name, Charaya Dharma. And she's an author and advanced energy healer and founder of Anchor the Dream. Take it away and introduce yourself, and we're going to do meditation first. Then she's going to talk about how we're going to create collective consciousness.
Thank you so much, David. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this wisdom that is coming through so many teachers and has been for so long, and that I have been a student of my whole life, and that I also have been helping people understand, because I feel that our consciousness and how consciousness drives reality is actually the conversation of the day. And this is our secret key, our sacred key for how to move forward despite chaos in the world. Because if you haven't noticed, things are a little interesting these days. So no matter which pill you swallowed or which track you're on of understanding our reality at the time, the good news is the solution is the same. From my humble perspective. And so to get us started in this consciousness exploration, I'd love to invite you into a little bit of a meditation here. We're going to do a guided meditation to get centered, to start off this beautiful day, and to activate that power within us to bring forth realities of our choosing through our higher consciousness. So, of course, if you're driving or operating any machinery or anything, don't close your eyes. But if you are in a space to join us here in a more meditative state, then please do take a nice deep breath, open your heart, and allow that beautiful, wonderful mind of yours to settle into the heart, because it is through settling into the heart that we can allow that monkey mind to rest for a little and get connected to that higher consciousness through the heart, which is truly connected to the all that is. And so I invite you to close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and imagine that you are within the space of your beautiful heart right now. Imagine that there's a little you in there inside of your heart, and that little you is like a spark of light. And that little you is going to travel all the way home to the very, very, very center of your heart right now. You can just imagine what it feels like to feel like you're at home in the very, very core of your being. And this is beyond the physical heart. This is the multidimensional heart, your spiritual heart. And so as you imagine connecting through that little you with that spiritual spark in the center of your heart, I invite you to imagine allowing that light of the spark of your spirit filling up your body, filling up your whole body, mind, spirit complex and your aura, filling you up to overflowing with love and light. And imagine this love that you are and this light that you are is cascading through every cell, through your entire mental body, your entire emotional body, your entire spiritual body, and your entire physical body. And I want you to imagine that this beautiful light is also creating a little outer coating of golden light. So you have a beautiful, maybe a white crystalline light filling up your whole aura, and a beautiful golden light on the outer edges. And we say together, by whatever name you call, source, creator, God, the divine, whatever your name for it, just substitute it for whatever I'm going to say. Creator of all creators, being of all beings, light of all lights, love of all loves, we are overjoyed to come together here today. We are so grateful for the opportunity to commune together and learn more about higher consciousness and to activate that very power within us that you gave us to focus on positive outcomes and harmonious life for the planet. We're filled with gratitude and humility at the task ahead, at the task of being human on this planet right now. And we ask humbly that any places where we're hurting right now be soothed and cleansed and healed and uplifted. Any places where we feel divided right now or at odds with our loved one's creator, please help us to forgive those who have other opinions, maybe strong opinions and different from ours. Please help us to forgive everyone for hurting or harming us in any way through polarization or anything else. Help us to come into the true comprehension of ourselves as extensions of your love, able to dissolve away the pains and harms of the past so that we don't have to carry the burden of the energetic signature and blueprint of the past harm and pain anymore. Today, we are meditating on bringing in the new blueprint for a higher harmony. And sometimes we need to ask to let go of the old blueprints, the old conditioning that has gotten us into different situations, which we would not have preferred to be in if we knew how to avoid it. And we didn't, perhaps. Perhaps we didn't know everything we needed to know about how our human consciousness worked. So let's forgive ourselves for that and humbly and gratefully open to the more knowledge, more wisdom, more true empowered guidance, more self-love, more wisdom, more grace, more ease, more ability to forgive and forget, more ability to let others off the hook because they too have come from conditioning, have had pain, more ability to see through polarized realities and rise above. Today, we're here to rise above, regardless of which perceptions we have about all the things going on in the world, about our. Can we see that there is also a higher order in play where we can look at the entire world scene from a higher vantage point of conscious awareness? And we can see dynamics coming and going, things changing all the time, energies building and dissipating, even civilizations coming and going, our lives changing, the world changing, our relationships changing, everything having a season, everything having a reason. And that ultimately we are the witness of it all. And so anywhere that we are feeling tension of polarity and making it difficult to get into that higher state of consciousness and awareness of just simply what is, with self-love and self-confidence and unconditional love for all that is. Anywhere that that's difficult, Creator, we ask that you lift us up and bless us with the consciousness to be able to dissolve and delete and heal anything and everything that needs to be dissolved and deleted and healed right now. Some of our wisdom teachers tell us these days that part of the purpose of all the chaos is to get us ripe for doing just this, for allowing any old fears, pains, and hurts to arise, be reckoned with, and be dissolved out of our system so that we can stand more and more fully moment by moment in that spiritual maturity, which will allow us to guide ourselves and to steer our beautiful planet together as one with a desire for higher harmony. So as you breathe into your body, mind, spirit complex, as you breathe and sense what is transpiring in you through these words and these energies, just notice if there's any part of your body which feels more tight or which feels like there's a density in it or feels stuck. And let's just bring some love to that area, wherever that is for each one of us, knowing that all is well And the Divine Mother Consciousness likes to say, all that is as it is because it is. All that is as it is because it is. Somehow, some way, we co-created and manifested an experience. Maybe it was from our conditioning as a child. Maybe it was from our collective conditioning of our world and media and other things that got attention of our consciousness. Maybe it was past lives. Maybe it was our ancestral lineage where patterns came to us and these old blueprints came. So I invite you, invite each of us, as we wish, to make peace with those old blueprints. We can once and for all, now and forevermore, say, old blueprints, we forgive you. We see you, how you are. We see where these old blueprints of thinking and consciousness got us. And we're going to digest this experience. We're not going to push against it, make it wrong. We're not going to judge ourselves or each other for how the world is, for how our lives are. Can we come into acceptance right now that all that is as it is because it is, taking full spiritual responsibility for our lives and for our world as maturing beings of consciousness. And in that self-responsibility, we basically can then say, let's let go of anything that's not serving us anymore. Anything that's ready to be dissolved and deleted and healed. Let's do that right now. Whatever capacity you have in conjunction with your own high self and your own will for this clearing, simply allow it to be as you wish. And so we are clearing shame. We are clearing self-doubt. We are clearing anger. We are clearing resentment. We are clearing fear. We are clearing any sense of a lack of self-worth. We are clearing anything else that keeps us from being able to self-reflect and come from that higher consciousness. And we're not expecting ourselves to be perfected beings yet. We're loving and accepting ourselves unconditionally as we are. So any place that we haven't been able to love ourselves unconditionally, I invite that great spirit to help us do that now. Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, Mother, Father, God, creator of all creators, by whatever name you call that creator, we are asking for the full revelation of as much of the truth of how we work and how consciousness works as we are capable of receiving today for our highest good. And we're not rushing the process. We're going along step by step, knowing that all is well. Knowing that all is well. Remembering that despite appearances, all is well. All is well. All is well. All is well. This is what the beautiful voice of inner wisdom is always saying to us, regardless of what's happening in the outer world. Because that voice of inner wisdom knows we are not a body. We're not even our minds. We're not even our emotions. We're an eternal spiritual being having physical experiences in a very large number of different expressions. Isn't that a mystery and isn't that amazing? And more will unfold and unlock about all of that and who we really are as time goes on. And so now that we've done that clearing, we can ask that the little vacuum cleaners, little fairy and angels of the universe come in and help us to vacuum away any particles that are left over from that clearing that need to be vacuumed out, and that we're standing in our highest expression right now, and that we're going to come together and imagine our world blanketed in love. Can you imagine with me the entire planet blanketed in a pink light of unconditional love, where we invite our brothers and sisters and everyone here to step into that field of unconditional love with us and to receive it if and as they choose, to soften energies, to shift polarization back into unity, to help us empower the inner vision of harmony on earth between all peoples. Can you imagine a civilization of higher harmony where each individual knows the truth of themselves and acts accordingly in every situation? What's it going to take for us to get there? And the masters say we don't have to figure it out, but can you imagine with me what a world is like that creates a higher civilization through these greater blueprints of consciousness? It begins with our thoughts. So, can you imagine with me a world where each individual has charge of their thought forms and is creating beauty and love and harmony and well being and grace and ease and innovation and specialization and great resources for humanity and organic, natural foods and soils and pure water and clean air and healthy interaction with nature and animals and loads of natural spaces where the animals can roam free and safe places for our children and safe homes, safe, beautiful cities and towns and villages all over the world where this love is the keynote and is with us every moment of every day. What would that be like to live in a civilization like that? Can you breathe that in with me? Yes, because it begins with our imagination. It begins with our directed thought. This is how consciousness works. This is how the blueprinting of a new reality works. It begins with us deciding how we want to experience our lives. And we have the right to do that. That's part of how we're designed as extensions of the Most High in form, out here on the leading edge, co creating new realities of our own choosing. It may not always seem that we are because there's a lot of old energy that's been rising up to be cleansed and healed. So it could be a little confusing right now. And what we're talking about today is that despite any confusion, despite any difficulties, despite what feels challenging on the world scene, despite what feels challenging in our lives, the truth that our connection with the divine and our own ability to think and focus imagination and feeling towards new realities is still the primary factor driving manifestation into reality. And so, as we allow ourselves each and every day to take some time apart to still our minds, to open our hearts, to put ourselves in a quiet space where we're not disturbed, and to take some time to really imagine and feel what these new harmonious realities would look like and feel like, the more we're going to accelerate them into manifestation. And the thing to remember also during that special time of your day is to allow the prime creator, your high self, whatever you call God, to wash and clean and clear your body, mind, spirit template as well, to delete and dissolve anything arising, to heal and resolve any fears, doubts, worries, concerns, to make peace with any anger or resentment or judgments that are arising towards others, and to just really get the lesson of that within ourselves before taking it back out to the world, to the people, to really soften that so that when we go to communicate with people, we're doing it in a more loving and conscious way to the best of our ability, and to really focus on loving ourselves unconditionally during this time, regardless of what arises. We're not, just because we're asking to shift and cleanse and clear some of these old outworn patterns, doesn't mean that we're judging ourselves for having them, because all that is as it is because it is. And things are challenging. And this is part of being human, is having these various emotions and these various feelings. So let's call upon peace and harmony first and foremost within ourselves. Let's create that peace and harmony within ourselves by continuing to forgive others for hurts and harms and wrongs done, and for having different opinions and perspectives. This is probably the most crucial thing that we need to be doing at this time to be able to achieve the higher harmony and the higher consciousness that will set us free. Because if we are allowing ourselves to be polarized, if we are allowing ourselves to indulge in negative energy because people have equal and opposite programs running inside of their mind and have equal and opposite ideas about what's happening in the world, this is just ripe for a divide and conquer energetic to take hold. Are we ready to rise above this? Are we ready to see beyond it? That even though my brother and my sister might have equal and opposite beliefs about things that are happening, could we love each other unconditionally? Could we see that they have been conditioned and have received certain information and streams of consciousness which have led them to that place? Could we rise above, knowing that we don't wish for the divide and conquer? We wish instead to learn more and more how to rest in that higher consciousness that is going to allow us to create the new reality regardless of what we believe, regardless of what is happening. We've got to really take up the mantle of that truth within ourselves. And it is a gift and it is a responsibility. And it is something to be appreciated. Many of you have probably had lots of experiences of actually manifesting things in life. And perhaps you focused on a new car or a certain situation, and you utilized some of the tools of reality creation and manifesting and saw that synchronicities started happening and coming to you in your life. And so we know a lot of us have had experiences where we know this is true. And if you haven't yet had experiences like that, I recommend studying these things. I have a podcast on a place called Spreaker, which has a lot of wisdom teachings, just sharing transmissions like this about these topics. And many, many other people, if you look up law of attraction, manifesting, reality creation, and on my website at Shri Dharma, there's a little bit of something about Anchor the Dream, which is the experience I created for helping us focus consciousness toward new desired outcomes. So you can study Joe Dispenza and Joe Vitale, and Bruce Lipton even talks about it quite a bit, and Greg Braden, and so Abraham Hicks, so many people, so many teachers that are alive now and in the past have brought forward these teachings. Ernest Holmes, Neville Goddard, the whole Unity Church, a New Thought movement. They all have the codes of comprehension of how we operate as spiritual beings in a physical body, focalizing thought forms, feelings, and consciousness toward desired outcomes. And this is the same in our personal lives, and it's the same on a worldly scale with us as stewards of our planet, our planetary experience. And as we rise into the higher octaves of desire for positivity, well-being, health, love, solutions, resources for all, plenty for all, housing for all, food for all, organic, beautiful, healthy, non-GMO, excellent food that is full of minerals, the soil that is completely replenished, water that is filled with life and purity, pure, clean air, healthy, harmonious systems of governance and education and finance and economy. All of these things we can harmonize. We can harmonize the existing systems by imagining what it's like to have that kind of experience on Earth. Will it happen overnight on a global scale? Well, I think my teachers would have said, if enough of us imagined that all at the same time, then it would definitely accelerate it. And that's why we have so many global mass meditations right now. And we can keep the imagination of it as a real experience and keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep at it no matter what. Keep at it no matter what. Knowing that eventually the old boulders of lower consciousness will wash away, basically, in a nutshell. And we've got to keep that trust and that faith in the process. And we've got to know that we know that we know that despite appearances, this is so. There's a buildup and a backlog of other thought forms and energies that have brought us to this point now, maybe all of which were not coming from a conscious place. So it took a while to get there. It took a while to get there to where we are now. And it's going to take a second to shift, but we know enough to know that we can shift it now. So I invite you into the fold of this awareness of our inner power to manifest new realities and to keep ourselves in a higher harmony and to share unconditional love, first with ourselves, then with others, and to love ourselves through the process, even when old energies arise for clearing. And when we've made an assumption or we've judged someone, to make amends for that when we're ready, when we've finally got the kernel of truth within ourselves for why we did that, we can make amends with the others as appropriate in our lives. And we can make amends with ourselves, and we can forgive ourselves and others. And we can continue to take some time each and every day to imagine this world of higher harmony, this world of an awakened humanity filled with light and love, being directed by the inner spirit that wants the well-being for all, and that we can forgive all the players on the field who have co-manifested anything less than that. So breathing into this offering today, this gift and this prayer, I invite you to reflect on what you've received so you can take it with you into your day and into the rest of this beautiful, wonderful conference that David and Alice have put on here today for us. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share like this today. And my name is Sharaya Dharma, and you can find me on the web at sharayadharma.com. That's CHIRAYADHARMA.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this that beautiful offering, and this is the first time I participate with a meditation with you, and wow, I was you have to come back multiple times.
Anytime, I'm here for
because because it is so important that everybody is at home, basically. A lot of people are in lockdowns, on curfews, and also a lot of people who have businesses or work is out of work and financially strained. And also with the recent US election, there was a lot of stress of even now, because after the election, there is issues that is going to court for the election. So there's a lot of stress on everyone, and we can see that reflecting in our collective consciousness, and collectively around the world. There are a lot more conflicts now than, let's say, before coronavirus happened, and you can see it manifesting there. And I think that, what you just said will guide us and help us in actually bringing inner peace, outer peace, and world peace. So thank you so much. And we would like to also hear about when you say anchor the dream, what does that mean? So we would like to understand how to create this blueprint for the collective evolution of humanity and a collective higher consciousness. How
So
would we
when Anchor
be
the
able to
Dream
do
first
that?
came in 2005, I was literally praying and meditating and asking, what can I do that will actually help? Not my mind thinks it helps, but that it's literally going to help change how the planet, basically, how we experience reality. And so I did a 4-day meditation, and the codes of this came in, and I designed an entire workshop with the help of the guides. And so the workshop I've been doing semi-regularly since 2005. There is a tab on my website about Anchor the Dream there, and people can inquire about doing a workshop or having a workshop there. And basically it's energetic activism and visionary stewardship for planetary co-creation and transformation. And when we know that our thoughts are powerful and create reality, and then we come together to imagine new scenarios, we can act it out as if these new scenarios are real. So in Anchor the Dream, we typically find out who in the room is excited about which part of Earth life. And then from there, we do a meditation similar to what we did before, similar but different, where each person accesses their own piece of the vision, and then we act it out as if it's real right now. So this is Anchor the Dream. And also there's been very many permutations of this knowledge and this wisdom teaching throughout the years. I've had installations at festivals called the New Earth Vision Portal. And if we have 3 minutes, we can do something. If we have 3 days, we can do something. I could spend a whole week sharing about this, and I would love to. And there's something called visionary stewardship, which is this is a part of. So in other words, as mature spiritual beings, when we anchor the new dream of Earth through these practices, we are doing what's called visionary stewardship and energetic activism. We're taking responsibility of how our consciousness works to actually begin to steer. We're taking the reins. We're not just allowing the media and other people's things and what already is to condition us to a new reality or a continued reality. We're actually deciding how we want that reality to be and guiding and through our heart with something I call source sanctioned visioning. So we're not just plucking stuff out of the ethers that's not going to be beneficial. We're actually deeply tuning in with our consciousness to make sure what we're imagining is pure and good and beneficial.
We have also indigenous people who are actually prior to colonization, they had also the similar practices where they do a rain dance, right? And then it starts pouring rain, and they said, "How
Exactly.
could that happen?" So, would you like to speak to a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So Greg Braden has a really great story about that on his website that you can listen to about the rain dance. And a native person brought him to a sacred medicine wheel to do a rain dance, to not do a rain dance, but to pray for rain. And he said, "We don't pray for rain, we pray rain." And so what Greg was saying, the man shared, is that they went into the medicine wheel. He basically took a few moments to imagine feeling raindrops on his body. He imagined the smell of the rain. He imagined the sound of the rain. And he felt as though the rain was already happening and a given. And when he got himself into that full state, then he's like, "Okay, cool, let's go get some lunch or something." And Greg was like, "Wow, how that's it, you know." And then of course, games. And so when there is little to no resistance to what we imagine, it will come in really quickly. When we've got some of the old conditioning bottled up that is contrary to what we're trying to manifest, sometimes it might take a little longer to get there. Or it might take a little longer if it's a really big vision, like the entire human race in higher harmony. Like that's it's going to take a sec, but we still imagine it because we trust that it's going to come eventually. But in my experience, if we have absolutely no resistance to something happening and we really get in that state where we've imagined it as if it's real, it is coming. There's no stopping it. And if you have resistance in you or you feel that it's not coming or there's where you're concerned, that's where we do some of the clearing work. We can examine, there's all kinds of different ways to take a look at why didn't that happen, and what do we need to do to redirect and stay in our center while the manifestation is playing itself out, because it's the fairy dust particles of the universe, it's the angels of the universe that need to do the work. It's not, we're not here to try to hammer out every single detail of making these new realities happen. We allow the nature consciousness, and we are that whether we know it or not. We are that whether we're consciously practicing it or not. So when we're in a bad mood, when we're in a good mood. But the more that we do it, it has more power when we do it with focused, conscious intent. So it's practice, it's baby steps, it's humanity waking up to this superpower within us that we typically didn't even know that we had. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And often, from for Christian viewers out there, a lot of people will say, "Oh, this is all very hairy or like that sometimes." But if you look at the example of the scriptures, you can find if you believe, right?
Yes,
Then
I'll get
it
my head
will.
up here when we're talking about this here. So have the little rainbow above me.
Right. I mean, they said that because there was this scripture example, just example of when Jesus came and walked on the water towards the boat that the disciples were on. Then they asked one of the disciples also to walk on water. Then he began sinking into the water because he lost his belief, right? So that is the exactly the indigenous people say, if you believe, like the rain dance, then it'll manifest. So he lost his belief and he sank into the water, you know?
Right. And it also,
So,
the scriptures say, they teach about these things so specifically. Ask and you shall receive, you know. And there's so many scriptures about that particular topic, that without vision a people perish. We're being asked by God to have a vision for ourselves and for our world, because if we don't, we're going to perish. And it's the perishing comes from, if we don't have a clear vision of what we want, then all the stuff that has come before is going to get in our consciousness, and we're going to be seeing and feeling that and remarking on that and focusing on it, and then we get more of it, and then eventually that's just going to go pew. So, and I know the native people have always talked about vision questing, and we need to go within and find that vision.
right. And it's just like the Titanic, you know. We can say that we only see 10% of the reality, like animals might hear, have higher senses that hear things and also see things, different spectrums of light, and also sense things that are spiritual, you know. So we only see 10% of, you know, it's just like a Titanic, right? When the Titanic captain says that, oh, that's a small iceberg, but they only saw the top part of it, but they forgot the bottom part of it, 2/3 or more, was underwater. They could not see that, so they crashed into it, and many people lost their lives. So we are. Now, I think you're also saying is that there's a lot of mysteries in life, and we just have to believe that it will happen, and the things that will happen, and it will happen because of our belief. Um, and I also wanted to ask you, what do you think about the double slit experiment
Mm.
on a scientific basis versus, like some people say, to try to connect our high consciousness to science?
Yeah, the modern physics and physicists have done a number of experiments proving that our thoughts have an impact on what we call material reality, which basically starts helping us match together the ancient spiritual wisdom teachings with the modern science and the scriptures of all times, because they're all basically pointing to the same thing, that this is a leela. This world is not as solid as we typically think it is, and the physicists are pointing to that. And because it all starts with thought and consciousness, and all builds from thought and consciousness, we can modify those thought forms, and then reality solidifies around them by nature. That's actually how things get created. So there wasn't a physical world first, and then there's a spiritual world or a thought world. It's the opposite. Everything begins with that spiritual world and that intent and that thought, that focused thought. So the thought, you can think of the thought as the pattern. And if you think of matter and pattern, so you have matter, which is mother, you have pattern, which is father. So the mother and father principles come together to create our experience of reality. The thought is the pattern of the father, and the matter is the substance of the universe, those amorphous particles that then get solidified into manifestation. And so when we bring mother and father together in a co-creative act with our love and our attention and our awareness and our energy, now new realities can be birthed. And that's a little bit deeply esoteric, but it's also, the science of the day is backing these things up with their experiments, like the double split experiment. I believe Dean Radin also has a lot of information about that. So there were a number of scientists in The Secret and What the Bleep Do We Know, who are pointing to these things. So those are two older movies which are kind of fun. And yes, all due respect to people of different faiths and traditions and religions, because each of them has that needle in the haystack, or that truth, or that kernel, those pieces that you can find, which are going to lead you to the same conclusion, that the universe, God, love, source is asking us to have a vision, and that this actually is scientific basis, not just a woo-woo spiritual thing.
Uh, yes, another thing that a lot of people do not know, but what is matter actually. So we can actually talk a little bit about what is matter. Um, Scientists right now saying that there's not really any matter because actually in matter itself, 90% or 99% or more are empty space between the matter itself. But then when they look closer at the matter, it's nothing more than energy vibrations or
Mhm.
energy that are stringed together in different vibrations. One interesting experiment was that there was 2 cups of water. They were in a vacuum and in a place with no sound and nothing else, to the same water. And then the scientists put um, some medicine in 1 cup, and they took the recording of the sound, and then they went to the other room with the water and they played the sound, and the water had the medicine in it. So actually, the vibration changed the water to include the medicine. So, what is your perception of that or your opinion?
Well, more and more and more, we are going to be discovering who we really are and how we operate and how the nature of reality and how it operates. There are numerous vibrational types of different healing systems coming out right now. And where humanity has been limited, thinking in terms of a dense reality that has to be dealt with, is going to be changing as we progress, for sure. Because, like you said, the science is coming out all over the place right now. And I've heard it said that there will be kind of both things going on, like the sort of regular mainstream normal idea of life will continue over here, and then some of us are just going to start understanding, wait a second, there's way more to reality than we think. And so it'll be a time period where both are sort of happening at once. And it's just it's an interesting and strange place to be. But those who have sort of caught a whiff of this stuff, I mean, you can't not smell it after you've caught a whiff of it, you know what I mean? Like, consciousness itself is changing. And if we go back to the scriptures again, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that word is a sound, a frequency, a vibration, and that emanated into creation to cause it to manifest. And Om, Amen. We're talking about the same primordial sound structures and teachings within different scriptures around the world that have to do with how creation works. And
You send chills in my body because um, a lot of people do not know actually the sun has a frequency, and it's the ohm frequency that has the ohm there. This is the frequency of the sun itself, So,
I did not know
so uh
that makes a lot of sense because the sun has that energy of giving life to us. It has the energy of blessing us so that things can grow and food can be had and we can have joyful times outside and all that stuff. So it's kind of like it has a very creative aspect to it.
uh, right. Let's say the average person on the street, right, um, would like to increase their higher consciousness or be awareness of, and also a lot of people want to manifest something. You know, how would they even get started?
Mhm,
A
mhm.
lot of people are like confused. They say, "How would
Yeah.
I get started?" Because I want more money, I want more love, I want a better job, I want this. A lot of people
Mhm.
say, don't even know how to get started. How
Yeah.
would you uh, uh, tell them how to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on the one hand, there's a lot of resources on the web for learning more about these teachings, and you can Google some of the teachers we were talking about earlier, or you can go to my website and you can sign up if you want for my free Sunday meditation that I do on these things. I do a meditation for manifesting the world and for healing and all the things we were talking about today. every Sunday that's free and open. So people can do that on my website if you feel inspired and called to that. Or you can go and look up any number of other teachers and get these teachings in many places. And I would say the simplest way to start is by taking some time to quiet the mind. And people talk about this a lot, but let's think about this logically. Like when we're just going around in our regular everyday life, we're in what's called that beta state of thinking. We have a lot of thought forms running, and some people call it the monkey mind, right? Like our thoughts are all over the place. And didn't we just say that, oh, wait a second, but the thoughts are creative? And when it says ask and you shall receive, basically you're asking with your thoughts. So when you become intentional about your thoughts, and you take, then you're going to have, your thoughts are going to have impact towards what you want rather than just whatever's running around in your head from your day. So the first step is literally stopping, breathing, calming the mind, coming into the heart. If there's a replay of this, they can go back and do that meditation again, and really just getting centered enough to notice what we want. And if we have agitation, to clear that out somehow through music or rest, and then to focus the thinking, I'd like a new car. And to, let's say just like the car example, people can do an audio recording of what they want their car to be and then listen to it over and over again. And that's a way to do it sort of like over time. If it's harder to sit and be still and focus on imagining and feeling it as if it's real, then make an audio tape of what you want. I call this a script. So basically, let's say you wanted a new car. I'd love a new car. My new car is really, really reliable. It's beautiful on the outside and works great on the inside. It's all perfectly sound. It gets great gas mileage. It's this color and it's this kind of car. And I'm just so excited about my new car. It gets me everywhere I want to go. And wow, isn't it exciting that I get to have this new car? And you just sort of go on a tangent about it. And you express everything you want about this thing that you want. And then you can do that just sitting by yourself. You can write that down. You can actually read it on an audio recording and then listen to it over and over and over again. And I did make a car that way. I had no idea how I was going to do it because my car died and I was traveling all over the place as a producer, and I didn't have like a regular job, where I could go give my little pay stub to the car dealer.
Right.
Absolute miracle happened. Like I did just that very thing. And after about 3 months, a friend called me and said, I'm giving you money, go get a car. It's like, I didn't even know you knew I needed a car, So in other words, strange things will happen and the universe will rearrange itself when we let go and when we have faith and when we believe in the power of our thoughts and our consciousness. And when we do the work, it works when we work it. When we do the work, when we make the effort to still our minds and to re-impregnate our thought forms with the thought forms of our desire.
Right. Well, that's beautiful. And also, I just wanted to ask a philosophical question. Do you think the mind, our consciousness, rests in our brain, or our brain is an antenna for consciousness or our mind? So there's two ways of looking at it. Some people it's not saying it's in the brain, but it's in our life cells in our body, because you have we have to. I think the thing is that before people say we have two brains, but actually I think we have three brains: our minds, our hearts, and also we have the bundle of cells near our abdomen. So what is your opinion on that?
That is a really great question, and I look forward to the people who have the capacity to understand that scientifically, unfolding that to us more and more over time. And also, I was listening to something last night about the yugas, the great ages of time that we go through, and on there they were saying that all thought forms kind of exist, and they're not in our brain, and we can pick up on them like a channel. So in that sense, and I think I've heard of a lot of other people say too, that our brain and our pineal gland and all this, it's like an antenna of a radio station picking up the signals that we want. So if you can imagine everything that's possible already exists, what do we want to tune in with? And then that becomes our experience, what we tune in with. And we can develop it further, riff on it, magically mix different frequencies and signals together that exist, and then maybe we've created a new frequency, and now when we're focused on that, then more and more will build toward the outcome of that frequency. How does that sound? That's like a
I think that that makes a lot of sense. Is because have you ever experienced where you walk into a room and the people, you met a person and you feel bad vibe from that person? You say, "Oh, I don't want to deal with that person. It's a really like bad vibe,"
Yeah.
and we even have the jargon "bad vibe," right? Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, well, basically, so each of us has a certain set of desires that we generally want for our life, whether we're thinking about them all the time or not. And if we encounter a person who doesn't have those same, who isn't going to help fulfill those desires, like maybe if we have a desire for peace and they have something inside them that doesn't want peace, and that we sense it's going to be hard or difficult dealing with them, we might feel a little like, yeah, I don't really, not feeling that. And because the templates, the blueprints aren't a match, it's not like we can do our best to avoid judging that other person. Like maybe they're just on a different frequency track. They're just not in the same place. Like us interacting with them will not lead us to our objectives. So we feel that resistance, or it might even hurt our objectives. So we feel that like, oh no. So that's like intuitive, because that higher self of us knows everything about everything and can read frequency. So that's what we're doing at that point. We're reading vibration and frequency to guide us along our way. And we can learn how to love people from a distance and unconditionally love and accept them as they are. Doesn't mean we need to interact with them. Doesn't mean we need to go in there and just because, like, we don't need to let our desire to love unconditionally override our common sense. And our common sense might be also that intuitive sense.
Why is it that I often find that women are a lot more intuitive than men?
You know,
Why is that?
well, it may come from, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of intuitive men too, as I know also. And women have to track. We are natural multitaskers, and we have to be aware. Like if you've got a baby in the arm and a 3-year-old in the backyard, and you're wondering if your husband needs lunch or whatever, not that that's the only thing women do, but traditionally for many, 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 many years, that was the role. So we got conditioned over time to have to be more aware because of so much going on that we're having to manage and track every moment. And so we got an ear out for what's happening with that kid. And if we can't see them, we're trying to feel it because we're over here. It's like, it could be a part of the biology, I guess, is what I'm saying, and the nature of the role as a female person. And it also has to do with the hemispheres of the brain. So the right and left hemispheres of the brain make a big difference. If we're really left brain oriented and very logical all the time, then we may be less apt to open to that right brain of creativity and intuition and the spiritual insights and guidance, which is actually, it's like hyper logic, because that's the part of our brain that actually is tapped into whatever knows everything, and then all creative possibilities come out. Whereas the left brain is data, managing details, planning, strategizing, sorting, searching. It's almost mechanical, as opposed to the right brain, which is more creative, artistic, open to the universal guidance, if you will.
Thank you so much. We're gonna wrap up. And what are your last thoughts because we're creating a blueprint, right? This blueprint, we have different blueprints. There's blueprint for water, then for the economy, so a new social system, and for high consciousness.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the hardest blueprint to create.
Oh,
So, what is your contribution to creating this blueprint? Because the blueprint's created over 1 year time, so you want to start it now, which you're part of, and
mhm.
then after November 2021, we'll have the complete blueprint for
Wow,
the entire world, for all the and to create a new world, basically.
that is beautiful.
Because what you said is that if we imagine it, if we don't start imagining it, it will never happen. So this blueprint is a global imagining, I guess. So
I love it. Well, I guess I would say that if we want to do an anchor the dream experience, if we can get on a platform that allows some interactivity with people, we could do an anchor the dream experience with a live Zoom call to co-create that blueprint, or to co-create on any aspect of Earth life that you would want, whether that's the water or the other parts of life that you're co-creating on. But I would say a next level experience together with those who want to do it. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It could be 10 people, it could be 3 people, where two or more are gathered. Could be 100 people, it could be 1,000 people. It's like, we can do it at whatever level is desired. And I'm down to play and to assist in focalizing that blueprint, if you will.
I think it's a good idea to be able to see, how it works, because a lot of times they talk, but once you actually, a lot of people work by experience. If
Yeah.
they see and they could experience a part of it, then they would understand the benefits of a higher conscious and how to achieve it, right?
Exactly. It takes practice. There's nothing, you can hear all my words, you can hear the words of other people, but when you experience it in yourself, then you own it. And so we each get to do that. We each have, that is our privilege and our right, and actually how we're designed to each open and awaken to this truth of how our higher consciousness works in our own time and in our own way. And we're all learning and growing. I'm still learning and growing. All of us are, if we're here, we're still learning and growing. But yeah, here's to the unfoldment of that beautiful blueprint that you are envisioning. I cherish it, and champion it with you, and I'm envisioning it coming to fruition in perfect ways.
Thank you for your time, Shariah Dharma. Would you
Absolutely.
like to give a clear where your website URL so people can find you?
Absolutely. So my name, if you see my name here on the screen, CHIRAYADHARMA.com. That's the website. And you can see a little bit about Anchor the Dream there. You can subscribe to my newsletter. And for subscribers, I have a meditation that I do on Sunday where I ask you a few questions to see if it feels like it's aligned for you to come into the meditation, and then we'll get you in and we'll start doing the work together. So feel free to visit me there, shariahdharma.com.
Please support com26v.com and Shariah Dharma also. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
You're
Dave.
invited back.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Much love, everyone.